everyone, welcome to the Substitutes. Today we've got Omar and Majid. I am Gaurav and I'm in a very happy place before the last day of the season. Today we wanted to look at the Champions League finalists and the winners of La Liga, Real Madrid, and have a look at how their season's gone so far and what brought them to where they are. So we'll start with you, Omar. What do you think of Madrid? The way their season's gone, how they've come together under Ancelotti? They didn't really have the best start. So tell me, what do you think?
I think they've been very impressive. They, like you said, they didn't have the best start to the league, and they spent the summer buying some young players. They flirted with getting Mbappe, haha, and they looked like they were building something, but it was beyond my wildest expectations that they would not only win the league but also reach a Champions League final, and in spectacular fashion as well. So I've been very, very impressed with Real Madrid. I think they've been really, really good under Ancelotti. I think that was an astute call to bring him back to the club.
Okay. Um, Majid, in terms of Ancelotti, how do you think he's actually maximized that team's potential and actually brought them together? Because when you look at that Madrid team to begin with, it didn't look like there was a lot of like ingredients there. So how's he done this? The Carlo special.
I mean, the Carlos special indeed. We have to remember Ramos and Varane went out this season. Those are your key defenders right there, and just key captains of key personnel of the club itself, and that's crazy. This Camavinga, Ceballos, Alaba in the moves he made, every move he made in terms of both going out and coming in have panned out beautifully. Not just looking at the people who moved out and didn't necessarily succeed as well as Real Madrid had this season, but also just even this Camavinga. He's so young. He was linked to United at one point, but he plays really mature. He plays really mature. Pogba with the Conte sort of thing. I don't know. Um, I think it helps his veteran. This is where you see the Carlos special. It's just his veteranship. Where Zidane could manage personalities, Ancelotti seems to be able to manage a system. What that system is, it can change year in, year out, as it did with Ferguson, for example. Depending on the personnel, we can play faster and attacking, or we can sit back and do, park the bus tactics, or this season, which is just wild card, bitches.
Yeah, you
Yeah,
know, you
I
met.
think. Sorry, go ahead, Omar. Go on.
No, I mean you mentioned something there, Majid, which is just like all the players that he brought in, along with the veterans, he's managed it really well. Letting go key players, but then you still got aging legs in midfield with Modric and Cruz, and up top you've got Benzema as well, who's been spectacular. But then you blend that with youth Camavinga, Vinicius Junior, one player who was looking to leave the club earlier in the season. So I like it's like you said, like he changes his system depending on the team. It doesn't always work out. Like it happened against Barcelona, they lost 4-0. But like he does really well with the tools that he has. It's very impressive.
Yeah, I think you're both right about kind of how Madrid have formulated the results that they have. I wanted to add another dimension to your Ancelotti analysis because there's something that I noticed in the semifinal against Manchester City as they were going in to the final stages of the game, and Ancelotti was about to make his final subs, bringing on Rodrigo, et cetera, et cetera. Um, on the bench, while he was consulting his assistant coaches about these changes, Marcelo and I believe it might have been Tony Cruz or maybe another vet, someone who's been in Madrid for a while, were also talking to Ancelotti, and he was actually consulting them on who he should bring on and where he should be putting them. That to me is a manager that understands the uniqueness of his circumstance in terms of the difficulties and the potential hurdles he might face, but also the unique intelligence, experience, and know-how that he can lean on within that team. These are all very confident players that have won it all in multiple places, right? They've been there so many times before, and Ancelotti's smart enough. He's been there so many times before to be able to defer to the players and allow them not just to express themselves tactically, but also express themselves on the pitch. He gives them that freedom to put them in the right position and go on, express yourself. So I just wanted to say that's another thing that I noticed about Carlo, another Carlo special, let's just put it that way. The other thing that I wanted to actually hint on, we all know how great they've been in the Champions League. Which one of those knockout ties shocked you or surprised you or blew your mind the most? I'll start
All
with
of them.
you.
All of them. I'm gonna be honest. Like this was just weird. Like even if, by the way, go back to their group stages, they had I wouldn't say the toughest group, but they had Inter Milan in that group, and they came out like 5 points clear at the top, and then you move in to the knockout rounds, and you're playing against Paris, who you beat 3-2 last minute. Well, I mean, Paris capitulated, but that was very impressive, the way Benzema just grabbed the game by the scruff of the neck. Then you go against Chelsea, who fought back in the second leg, and then somehow, from somewhere, Real Madrid won it. But I think it has to be that Man City game, Majid. Like, come on, like that was insane. Like, it wasn't just Benzema in that
The
game.
Man City one, the Man City one is the Man City one is the most shocking. The PSG one is the most satisfying.
Yeah.
yeah, 100%. Like 100%. Just watching Mbappe.
I do want to go back. By the way, I just want to go back for a second. When you mentioned Modric, Marcelo, Benzema, that literally is your experience in all three facets of the game. And then you have a capable goalie in Courtois. So they do have, this season, they had a very unique blend of youth and experience. And Ancelotti played his cards perfectly, especially to go from last season trophyless to like two different things now, La Liga, Super Copa, and possibly the Champions League in spectacular historic fashion. It's crazy. I also do want to mention in La Liga, their record was 26-7-4. They were third in week 2. They were second in match day 9 to 12. All those other match days, they were in first position, which means from
Yeah.
week 13, match day 13 to 38, the final one, they were in cruise control the entire time.
Yeah.
And
They started
they
off
finished,
rough, kind of thing. That's that rough start, that like week match day 1 to 12, but then from match day 13 onwards, they did not give up control of La Liga.
they're 13 points ahead of Barcelona right now.
Yeah.
They wrapped up the league, and Barcelona have a game in hand. But I mean that's at the most 10 points, or at the least 10 points, at the most 16 points. That's crazy. And Atletico Madrid, they're what, 16 points ahead of them. That's a
Blown out the
statement.
water. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a statement. That's the La Liga champions last season that they've blown out of the water. I think it's so impressive. Like I don't know where this came from.
Well, the one thing I do want to add, I've added this before, is the most impressive part about the Madrid thing is just how quietly they've gone about it this time.
Yeah.
It's not been the Madrid style. That's all.
Yeah. I think, look, you're both right in exactly what you're saying, but I want to qualify a little bit because Magic's absolutely right. They did not start the season very well, right? Now, I want to tell you some of their surprising results throughout the year. Drew with Levante very early on, lost to Espanyol, drew with Osasuna, lost to Getafe, drew with Elche, drew with Cadiz, who got relegated, lost to Bilbao in the Copa del Rey, lost 4-0 to Barcelona, lost to Atletico Madrid, drew with Cadiz, again, who got relegated, and drew with Betis. So we're looking at a team that had a pretty topsy-turvy season throughout, right? And this is in the midst of, especially those latter half fixtures that they lost to Barca, lost to Atletico, lost to Bilbao, drew with Cadiz, and drew with Betis, who are very low in the table. What you're looking at is a team that was struggling in the Champions League, but making it through, but also at the same time had struggled in the league. Now, to highlight why I think they actually struggled in the league this season is not just those fixtures, but you mentioned the points gap between Atletico Madrid and Barcelona was 13 points. Barcelona won 21 games this season, drew 10, and lost 6, and finished with 73 points. Equivalent team in the Premier League, right? Because I think it's worthwhile to look at. If Real Madrid were in the Premier League, they would have finished third. Now, no, I'm not saying, obviously, you can't compare the two leagues. City and Liverpool are way ahead of most teams in the Premier League as well. There's a huge gap. But if you actually look at the way the other teams in La Liga have performed this season, they have all fallen off a cliff.
They're definitely
all the
weaker.
big teams have fallen off a cliff, right? So as great as Madrid have been, in terms of the way they've adapted, the way that Carlo Ancelotti's done, the renaissance of Karim Benzema, the constant impressive, never say die talent of Cruz and Modric, absolutely, all of that, 100%. However, their league has been decidedly poor. Absolutely, like abjectly, objectively, it's been poor. So I just want to qualify that. We'll see how spicy the mustard really is in a week's time.
Well, I mean, look, you could say it like that, and I think you're right. Like La Liga has gotten much weaker over the years. Actually, it's not.
No.
Just
I'm not saying over the years. Just this season, I
Yeah,
think
okay.
Barcelona, Atletico have really struggled.
Yeah, I get that, and I think you're right in saying that like the
Yeah.
league has been weaker, but I also want to rebut to a sense like they started off poorly,
Yeah.
and they finished very very strongly, and they are a team in rebuild. I think to win the league, no matter where you are, is very very impressive, and they've done it with a rejig side. Like they are in the process of rebuilding. Where you can really see their strengths is cup competitions over the last 7 years, where they've won multiple Champions Leagues on the bounce, and they've beaten big sides to make it all the way to the final. I'm getting serious Liverpool 2005 Istanbul vibes with this team. Like they just never die. Like they. So I think you're right in a sense, but I think it's very impressive that they've even won a league in a league where teams are not as strong, and in a Champions League they've had the toughest run in the Champions League. There's no other team that can compare to the teams they've had to face. They have faced the best sides and beaten all of them. So yeah, I want to call it like that.
I mean, our group had AC Milan and Atletico.
Yeah, but your knockout stage
Just lose a single game.
This isn't about Liverpool. This really isn't about Liverpool. This is about Madrid, right? And we're talking about Madrid here. Like, forget about it. Majid, you had something to say.
Yeah, just that I get what you're saying. I guess the league is weaker, but then that's the whole point of the Champions League results. And like again, these aren't your like bottom six of those leagues. These are the top ones of those leagues.
Yeah.
And they've already beaten the number one team in England. I just want to add in Manchester City.
Yeah, 100%. Look, I'm saying both can be true.
And Champions League winners last season as well, by the way.
You can have a season where you have mixed results, right? And you end up quite well in the league where you've won the league, which is fantastic. But at the same time, you're still rebuilding and you are still somewhat on uncertain ground, which is fine for a team that's still growing. It's amazing for what they've done in one season under Ancelotti, but going forward, obviously, they'll probably want to do better in the league.
I mean, you can
And
qualify anything, like the season's not done. Like they're in a Champions League final. Like you want to qualify it another way, the season's not done for Liverpool. You've only won 2 trophies. Like you might not win another one, or you might win them all. Like I don't get the comparison. Like right now, we're talking about Madrid's
I'm
season
saying,
up to this point, and
regardless
it's
of what,
so good. Like it's very impressive. Like like Majid said, they won the league, and they beat the biggest and the best teams in the Champions League. The only one that's left standing is arguably one of the best teams of this generation. So Madrid are incredible.
again, I said it's impressive that they've won the league, especially with a side that's rebuilding. I'm only saying that obviously there are things with those mixed results that are signs towards a team that is still quite not there. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Majid, did you want to add anything else to that?
Yeah, look, I agree they might not be there, but I don't think we need to look at 3, 4 seasons ahead. Like we're only talking about this season, and in this season's context, they've done fantastically well, period. In terms of the future context, they're one Mbappe, one Holland away from sort of being the finished product. I don't think they're as far as you're making them out to be either. I think they're genuinely like they need to reject. Sure, these Modric crews getting replacements or substitutes for them is not a perfect science, but Madrid have money, they have the status, and they have the league gap as well. Just generally, there's enough margin of error in that league for them to make a couple mistakes and get paper over it.